Chapter 7. I'd almost made a clean getaway to the fence when I heard Miss Millie's voice from back where I left her and Clarence. "Hey, girl? Alice, was it?" I turned around, wondering what I did this time. "I maybe thought of something you could do for me. For Clarence, I mean." Her voice was cracking a bit. I didn't want her to start coughing again for forcing her to talk too loud, so I walked back. When I got close enough, she continued. "Poor Clarence here is pretty near blind. You saw him running in circles. That's because he hears something and wants to find it, but can't see it in order to find it. Well, he can't even come out in the yard without hurting himself. But a dog who can't run in his backyard at least needs to walk. Maybe that's something a strong youngin' like you could help with." Now, I'd heard of guide dogs that help the blind, but did I have to be a guide girl for a blind dog? But I knew going home and telling Mama I helped Miss Millie by walking her blind dog would make things so much better than going home and saying there was nothing I could do. "Sure," I answered, knowing it sounded more like a question. "When do you want me to try to do that?" "How about right now?" I couldn't think of one polite reason I could say no, so I agreed that now was just as fine a time as any. Miss Millie went over to that huge tree and grabbed a leather strap that was hanging on one limb. She put the tied loop at the end of the strap around Clarence, who wagged his tail like he was recognizing the sign for a walk. Miss Millie then handed the strap to me. "Here you go. Maybe just up the street to Maple where the church is and then back. That'd do him some good." I pulled gentle on the leash to go, but he didn't move. Then I pulled a little bit less gentle on the leash, but he still didn't move. "Let's go, Clarence. Let's go for a walk to the church," I said, trying to sound all happy about the idea of the walk, but Clarence wasn't having any of it. Not only did he not move forward, he actually moved backward. Soon we had ourselves a regular tug-of-war going on. For a dog who couldn't see, he sure seemed to know it wasn't Miss Millie on the other end of the leash. She even tried to coax him. "Come on, boy. Come on, Clarence." But he wasn't going to walk with me. I can't pretend I wasn't a little bit happy right then. It wouldn't be considered my fault that the dang dog didn't want me to walk him. I was just waiting for Miss Millie to tell me I should stop trying. But when Miss Millie finally spoke up, it wasn't to tell me to go on home. "Maybe if I walk with you at first, he'll get to know you better," she said. She took the leash from my hands and quick as a blink, Clarence was ready to walk. But at the rate Miss Millie made us walk, summer would be over before we even made it to the church. For the second time in one day, I was counting my footsteps. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left. I could hear Miss Millie struggling with her breathing. "Do you want to slow down?" I asked, even though I had no idea how that would be possible. "Nah, I'm okay," she said kind of whispered. "This is what happens when you're 92. The old tick-tock's a little more slow these days," she wheezed when she said that, and I prepared for another laughing, coughing fit. And this time, when Miss Millie coughed, I saw a bike coming toward us. The overalls of the bike rider were the same ones I saw on the boy-girl in the yard yesterday. The closer the rider got to us, the more I could see that the person was actually a girl, probably a little younger than me. She smiled this big smile like she saw me walking with Miss Millie every day, and there was no doubt she was waving at us, not swatting flies. I looked at Miss Millie, who I assumed she was waving at. Miss Millie was finishing up her coughing fit, so she could only nod and wave back to the bike rider as she passed us, and then grew smaller riding down the street. I was afraid to say anything or ask who the girl was, what with it causing Miss Millie to talk and then cough again. I was planning on staying quiet as a mouse for the rest of the walk. But Miss Millie was planning on something else. "So how long you visiting your Grammy for?" "I don't know. My mama says Grandma shouldn't live alone anymore, so she wants us to stay a while to help her. But I don't think it'll be too long." Miss Millie seemed to know more than she was saying. "Guess time will tell, huh?" "Yes, ma'am." I looked at Clarence, who was marching along with all the confidence in the world, now that Miss Millie was guiding him. I didn't want Miss Millie thinking I was stuck here forever, so I added, "Plus, my daddy, when he comes, he'll have something to say about it all. He hates Rainbow." I looked up at Miss Millie to see if she took offense at me not liking her hometown. She still looked straight ahead, but I could tell she was listening by the way her head tilted toward me. For some reason, I needed to keep on talking about my family history. The words just kept coming and coming like they'd been waiting in a pot, ready to boil and spill over. Mama and he used to live here in Rainbow, even went to school here together, but Daddy said he needed to leave as soon as he had a chance. Said he couldn't breathe in a town so small. He needed a big city to be happy. Mama and Daddy got married right out of high school and moved to Savannah. That's where I was born. Mama says she wanted to call me Savannah, but Daddy said no. We lived there till I was 5. That's when Eddie was born and we moved to Ohio. I was rambling, and Miss Millie was just walking, breathing heavy, and staring ahead into the empty space of the neighborhood. Just in case I confused her, I added, Ohio is north of here. Miss Millie, still walking slower than molasses, yet still breathing so heavy, stopped walking in order to get enough breath to say, Land's sake, girl, I reckon I know where Ohio is. She whistled, then she said the last word like the S got stuck between her teeth. Sorry, I just meant to tell you that even though I'm from these parts, and Mama says I still talk like I got some of the South deep in my blood, I'm just like my daddy. I don't belong here. She answered. Is your daddy's family still in these parts? I shook my head, but that was kind of a fib. Truth was, I didn't know where Daddy's family was anymore. His daddy left him when he was little, and his mama, my other grandma, left Rainbow right after Daddy did. There were some pictures of her holding me when I was a baby, but I don't remember her any other way. But I didn't want to keep stammering on about my family's business to Miss Millie, so I just said, no, they left. Like I'll do when Daddy comes to get us. She stared straight ahead. When might he be coming to fetch you? Oh, I hated to admit it. I don't know. I haven't seen him in a while. When's the last time you saw your daddy, Alice, girl? Her tone was kind, not at all accusing, but still I felt ashamed to answer her the truth. Right before Christmas. Christmas? Well, shame on him for staying away from his family. I don't like the fact that Daddy has been gone that long, and I like it less when I hear Mama talking about him to her friends when she doesn't know I'm listening. But I like it least of all when a lady who has no idea who my daddy is says shame on him. It's not like that, I objected. My daddy's a good man, and he'll come back soon. I'd rather you not say any mean words about him, you hear? I couldn't tell whether it was the sunshine or the anger making my cheeks burn so much. I shocked myself with my own words, knowing good and well Mama would have grounded me for the rest of the summer for being so rude. I felt bad it all came out like that, bad and ashamed. And I felt extra ashamed when I saw we were at the corner of the street, right in front of the church, and I saw a man I thought might be a new preacher, since I didn't recognize him, but he looked like he belonged in front of the church. So now we can add yelling at old people to my list of sins for this week. Miss Millie nodded to the man in question and hollered, Morning, Reverend Hill. Good morning, Miss Millie. Might I expect you at service this Sunday morning? You might, but then again, you might expect a lot of things that ain't likely to happen too soon. I didn't mean to let out a snort, but I had never heard anybody talk to a preacher man like that before. He didn't seem to take offense at her words, just nodded and looked at me as my face grew redder. Miss Millie pointed to me and told him, This here young lady is just visiting, not staying. You can call her Savannah. The hint of a twinkle in her eyes let me know she hadn't forgotten my name and was just pulling the preacher's leg. I nodded to him, figured I might as well add lying to a preacher man to the long list of sins. Miss Millie said goodbye to the preacher and we continued on our walk. He hollered back to Miss Millie, Door's always open, ma'am. Always open. But by then we had turned Clarence around and were heading back to Miss Millie's house. She didn't say anything else about my outburst and I didn't want to talk about it again. Still feeling ashamed, I changed the subject. How long you had Clarence? Miss Millie smiled a smile that said she understood not to bring up my daddy again. Her wrinkles became more creased. This guy here has been a part of my family since, I don't know. I think it was 1960. Something like 8 years now. One day he was at my door and no one claimed him, so I guess you could say he claimed me. When she spoke about him, Clarence looked at her like he agreed that was the way it happened. We walked in silence the rest of the way back to Miss Millie's. It seemed like we picked up a little bit of speed for the way home. A little. At one point, she quietly handed me the leash, But even though Clarence wasn't looking and can't even see for that matter, he stopped the minute the leash was in my hands and refused to move again. Miss Millie took back the leash and said, "Maybe we could try tomorrow." This pretty much surprised me. I was certain I hadn't been the best of company. I mean, what with the yelling at her or making her walk too fast and all. But maybe she really did want me to learn to walk Clarence by myself. And maybe if I agreed to another day of walking, I would feel so guilty about yelling at her about my daddy. Sure. Same time? Good by me. I ain't exactly in demand around these parts, unless, of course, President Johnson comes to town. Then I might be busy. But he's in Washington, D.C., I guess. That's also north of here. And as she said that, she winked at me, and her whole wrinkly face smiled like it hadn't smiled in a long time. And I just remembered how. I couldn't get mad at her, even though I knew she was making a little fun of me. I smiled back and turned to go. "See you tomorrow, then." "Wait, Alice girl, let me give you something." By now we were in her backyard, and she let Clarence off his leash, and he wasn't growling at me for once. Miss Millie went over to her picnic table, and I saw her pick something up off the table for me. She extended her hand and took a hold of mine. Her hand was rough and worn with age and work. When she opened her hand, something shiny and little landed in my palm. I sensed the coolness of its smooth surface before I saw what it was. It was a blue marble. What on earth was I supposed to do with a marble? But I remembered my manners and managed to say, "Thanks. It's real pretty. See you tomorrow." When I got back to Grandma's house, Mama was honest to goodness happy to hear about the walk and all. And when I showed her the blue marble, she looked at it and got all misty-eyed, like it was the best treasure in the world. I asked, "Mama, why'd she give me a marble?" And Mama hugged me as she answered, "I don't know. Maybe we all just need somebody to share things with." That sure didn't help. So, Miss Millie just wanted to share a marble with me? Mama smiled and shook her head. Something tells me she's sharing more than that. I still didn't understand why Mama was so happy with that marble. "Do you want it?" I asked, not really wanting to give it away, but seeing how happy it made her. She hugged me again. "That marble's yours, Alice Ann, and maybe you don't realize it yet, but it's like a ticket to heaven." I took the marble back, still not sure what she was talking about. Guess Mamas just say stuff like that sometimes.